Okay, so now that it's hammered, I think I'm ready to start attaching my chain. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our little loop here with our chain nose pliers to attach our first chain end on the side. So you're going to grasp this edge of the loop and just kind of kick it sideways. Just a little bit, no more than you have to. And feed our chain end loop up in there. And just close it back. So now our chain's not going anywhere, but we need to start wrapping it down to the loop we've made. So I've cut about a 24-inch piece of the 24 gauge wire, the thinner one. And 24 inches is a little cumbersome to work with in the beginning, but you are going to appreciate it as you get to the end because you're not going to run out. It's just not as pretty if you get halfway around and then have to start over. So I'm going to show you. We're going to start wrapping right up next to the loop. So I'm going to put my thumb there and come around a few times till I feel like it's going to stay. And then basically we're going to do about 2 wraps between each little crystal. So pick a direction to wrap from. I'm going to come around this top side, I think. And you're going to come let's see. You're going to come underneath and over and between the 2 crystals. So take it around a few times and then you can move on to the next one and go between. And you'll see it's making a nice little pattern on the back where it crosses. Like I said, it's a little tedious. Just stick with it. So you're going to keep working your way around, and if you've got a full 3 inches of chain, you should have a few extra links of leeway. You want to stop when you get about this far from the little bent edge that we made, because then we need to decide if any of it needs to be trimmed off, and we need to go ahead and put our chain in on. So go ahead and keep wrapping, and then I'll show you how to finish off the hoop. I did like I was supposed to, and I left a few of them unwrapped, and you'll see it looks like I need to cut right there to have what I need. I'm going to cut in between. Save the little extra bits. You could always use them in resin or some other project. So that should be about right by the time I get a loop on there for the loop to come around here. So with these last few still unwrapped, I'm going to grab my other cord end and finish off the other side. So just fold your little tabs down. Fold your little tabs down. And then before we start wrapping these guys, we're going to cut just enough to make a loop on this. It's going to be about 1/2 inch. Leave about that much. And we're going to end up having to bend this wire just enough back towards this guy that you can get it looped on there and down, kind of like that. And this piece needs to end up being turned at 90 degrees to the side, because this second loop, instead of facing us like this one, it's going to face us from this direction. And then we'll turn it this way. Kind of like that. So now both of our loops are on there. And the last thing to do to finish the decorative part of our earring is just to finish wrapping between these last couple of crystals. And it looks like I'm going to literally have just enough wire. But that's kind of what you're going for, because this loop is the one that the back of our ear wire is going to hook into. You can also, if you haven't already done it, go ahead and trim off extra wire from when you started on the first side. So you want to go ahead and get 2 of these guys made, and then we just need to make the part that's going to go in our ear. To make our ear wires, we're going to cut about 3 inches of the 20 gauge wire, the same wire we used for the main body of the hoop. And we're going to do it the same way on the ends. We're going to nip off just the little edges with the flush side. The only difference between the ear wire and the hoop is it's going to be much smaller for the ear wire, plus this first loop is going to be facing sideways. So I'm going to grab about not quite a ½ an inch down and bend it over at a 90-degree bend, and then we're going to curl it back over to create our loop. So this is all a wrist motion. It's like I'm pushing and turning. And you can see I actually left a little bit too much wire. It met too early. But the way you can fix that is just trim a little bit off from the edge. And then we're going to keep curling until it meets. Like that. And we are going to actually, the hoop is going to hang this way. So we're going to be facing the loop. So go ahead and take your chain nose, and we're going to do a 90-degree bend right at the loop. So it looks kind of like that. And we're going to shape it on our mandrel. And like I said, it's going to be similar to the first hoop, just a lot smaller. So we'll do it up near the top. Just hold it against the mandrel and bring it around. And this is the same deal. You could mark it with tape if you feel like you can't remember where you had it. So you're going for a shape kind of like that. So it'll hook in this one, and then the back side will be over here. So I would just hold it up against your earpiece, the hoop that we made, and just measure with your finger where it needs to bend to latch into this loop. So I've marked it. I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and kick it back, kind of like that. And we can go ahead and trim. You want to leave somewhere between 1/8 of and 1/4 of an inch sticking up right here, so that you've got something to latch into this hoop. And to attach it, We're going to open the loop like we did on the hoop before. You're just going to kick it sideways, just enough to get it hooked in there. And then it'll go through your ear and hook through that loop. The very last thing you're probably going to want to do is take a little file and just, even though we flush cut it, this is going to have a little burr on it. You just want to file it off. But otherwise, that's how you make the casually sparkly earrings.